What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, continuing my deep dive into covers albums. I have a rule, a general rule that I don't like cover albums. Artists covering a bunch of artists, one or a bunch of artists covering one artist. They generally do not do it for me. I discovered that early in my listening career. Just not interested. I also don't think they're as valuable as they used to be. I think pre-internet, you could get a covers album and be exposed to many different artists, either covering one artist or one artist covering a bunch of others. It could maybe inspire deep dives. It could just expand your musical palette in a good way. I think in the streaming internet age, they're maybe less important, but I understand the attraction for some. I'm not attracted to them. That is a rule. We all know there are exceptions to every rule. The Bridge, a tribute to Neil Young, is an exception to my rule. This is a good covers album, a good tribute album. I think part of it has to do with the bands that were selected. This is 1989. And some of the bands that are on here are the Flaming Lips, Pixies, Sonic Youth, Dinosaur Jr. I think those four are key to the success of this album. We have other great bands. Bongwater, one of the most fascinating tracks on here. Henry Kaiser has a couple tracks, San Francisco guitar player, up there doing crazy stuff out of the Bay Area, Dead stuff, all kinds of cool stuff, beef art stuff. We got a Nick Cave track, which is fantastic. We got some Soul Asylum. It's a good selection of artists, but I think those four are kind of key to the success because Dinosaur Jr., I think they've dropped Bug, but that's their most recent album. They've yet to really become the Dinosaur Jr. that we kind of know and love. Sonic Youth had dropped Daydream Nation, but we still had Goo and Dirty on the way. They were just maybe becoming like what we would know them at, but they weren't yet solidifying that reputation. Flaming Lips had not yet dropped Priest Driven Ambulance. And I think it's this year. I don't know if it had yet to drop, but sometime in this year, the Pixies drop Doolittle. So that's when did they exactly drop Doolittle? So they're just now sort of becoming that band that we know, the Pixies band. Though I guess you could say maybe Surfer was also awesome. Yeah, so they had dropped Doolittle a couple months earlier. But it's all these bands at the cusp of just becoming these sort of iconic indie bands. And they're fearless in interpreting these songs. They don't seem like they're like deferential to them. They don't seem like, oh no, we can't do this because this is Neil. Like it just seems like, oh yeah, let's make this sound like our own. The Pixies, they do Winterlong. That pretty much remains in their set list forever on out from here. I don't know if it was in their set list prior to this, but it's definitely in their set list after this. Sonic Youth, their Computer Age, unfortunately never played live, but it sounds like your classic, iconic Sonic Youth song. Dinosaur Jr. does a lot of love. Amateurish garage rock at its best. Absolutely fascinating. And the Flaming Lips, listening to After the Gold Rush, it's got this chaotic drum intro that is very early Flaming Lips, noise for noise sake, chaos for chaos sake. Then they go into the actual song, and it's an eerie, raspy, early Lips ballad that the lyrics are Flaming Lips lyrics. Like, After the Gold Rush, that sounds like a Flaming Lips original. Those lyrics are so Wayne Coyne. They're just the perfect choice for this band, even though it doesn't really fit on the album. We'll get to that. But the band selection is fantastic. They did a great job of picking songs. It's a fantastic listen. Not perfect. It's not going to get 100% rating, but it might be the best one yet. I'm going to talk about the songs. I'm going to give each song a point or 0 points. I'm going to add up those points, give it a percentage, rank it among the others. 14 songs. There are CD bonus tracks. Get the one with the bonus tracks because two of those are two of the best tracks on here. Opens up with a pretty straightforward version of Barstool Blues by Soul Asylum. I think they had already done Runaway Train by this point, so they were probably maybe the biggest act on here, maybe at this point, at least as far as like popular culture goes. Barstool Blues, just straight good vibes, good performance, they nail it, but it's a pretty straightforward song. Don't Let It Bring You Down by Victoria Williams. Low-key acoustic Americana. She's got this really warbly kind of smoky voice. Absolutely works. Her voice works. The production works. The direction they take it works. It's a dark song. They bring out the darkness. Fantastic. The Flaming Lips After the Gold Rush is next. I like this version. It is very lips-ish. It sounds like a lip song. Coin's voice is perfect. It doesn't fit on the album. It's jarring. It's abrasive. I kind of think it should have been last or maybe first. It should not be in the middle. Definitely should not be here. Or maybe it should be paired with like Lot of Love, something a little more crazy, or even Bong Waters' Mr. Soul. I don't like where it's placed on the album. And so it hurts the flow of the album, but I think it's a good cover. Nikki Sudden does Captain Kennedy. It is interesting, but it almost loses the catchiness of the original, that sort of just jaunty, almost sea shanty type vibe of this story of this captain. But what it loses there, it sort of makes up for. It has this, reminds me of Modest Mouse Whale Song, just that sort of rhythm of that sort of big sounding but kind of sparse sort of drum bass pattern that Modest Mouse builds that song over. That's what it kind of reminds me of. And it's got a really nice guitar vibe, really nice soloing towards the end. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Built to Spill track meets a Crazy Horse track. It's an interesting vibe. It loses some of the charm of the original, but it also just kind of sounds like an entirely different song. So I give that props. Cinnamon Girl by Loop, pretty straightforward, some extra guitar in there, kind of wins me over by the end of it, but they're not really doing anything too exciting with the song. It's pretty straightforward. Not sure if that's going to get a point. Then we have Nick Cave singing Helpless. Is there anything more perfect than Nick Cave singing Helpless? That's all you need. Nick Cave singing Helpless. Sounds like a Nick Cave song. Pixies doing Winterlong. Pretty straightforward version of that, but there's a healthy dose of indie rock guitar that just makes this song perfect. Makes it sound like a Pixie song. Yeah, Pixies nailed it. Sonic Youth, Computer Age. Yeah, this should have been a live anthem. They should have played this. They should have dropped this on every tour from here on out. Yeah, it sounds like Computer Age, like you recognize the Neil Young song in it, but you also realize, oh, this really could have been a Sonic Youth original. They could have done this live. It would have been epic every time. It would have been a showstopper. It's fantastic. 5.5 minutes of just Sonic Youth, bringing Sonic Youth energy into a Neil Young synth song. A beautiful pairing of ideas. The only thing on here I think really just doesn't work at all is Psychic TV's Only Love Can Break Your Heart. The longest track on here, almost, one more longer, at 6+ minutes. Underwhelming, just doesn't work, just don't like it, kind of bores me, don't know what they were going for. It's the one song I don't really get, I don't really like. Kind of weighs down the latter third of the album. Dinosaur Jr.'s Lot of Love, screaming, raw, kind of amateurish, but it works. Henry Kaiser does The Needle and the Damage Done / Tonight's the Night. Really don't like the vocals on here. Henry Kaiser, throughout most of his career, I think always had an issue with vocalists. I never liked the vocalist he picked for the most part in a lot of his stuff. I don't know why. He just, something. I don't like the vocalist in this Needle and the Damage Done. Then it goes into a Tonight's the Night. It's got a nice Tonight's the Night that is kind of a nice, cool groove, and he has some really good guitar playing at the end. Kaiser is a really eclectic, kind of weird, out there, avant-garde type guitar player. It's a pretty good version of Tonight's the Night. I don't think the Needle and the Damage Done helps it. That is like I think it's a duet between a man and a woman. It's a piano-based thing. Maybe half a point if I had to give it a point. That's the main CD. There's 3 bonus tracks. Bongwater does Mr. Soul, and it's like a fever dream, psych, nightmare hallucination of a song. I'm not sure it's a song. You hear Mr. Soul, they are definitely doing something to Mr. Soul. Not really sure what it is. There's noise, there's weird vocals, there's angelic vocals, there's craziness buried in the mix. It's brilliant. It's 3.5 minutes of like say a psychedelic journey, only you walk into a room and just complete chaos is going on and your mind is not yet putting pieces into place. So it's just madness for 3.5 minutes until you figure it out, but you know somebody's playing Mr. Soul in the room. It's the one thing you can like hang your hat on is somebody's playing a Neil Young song, somebody's playing a Neil Young song. It's going to get me through this. Yeah, it's brilliant. BALL does My, Hey, Hey out of the blue. Pretty straightforward version of this. Yeah, this had an American alternative rock band with a bunch of people in it. I guess they opened for Sonic Youth and Teenage Fan Club back in the day. So not really familiar with them. Don't know if I need to check them out. Based on this cover, I don't. Just ultimately, there's some guitar noise, but not. And then the whole thing closes out with Kaiser covering Words, parentheses between the lines of age. No to the vocals, fantastic piano work, fantastic Kaiser guitar playing at the end, fantastic weirder Kaiser guitar playing at the end. The guitar playing saves this. It's a good choice of cover songs. Inspired choice by Mr. Kaiser. Great way to end the album. I really, really enjoyed this album. I'm giving it an 11 out of 14 points. Not giving a point to Barstool Blues because it's pretty close to the original. It's a great opening, but not really anything that special. Cinnamon Girl, Only Love Can Break Your Heart. I'm not giving points to. Kind of giving half a point to After the Gold Rush because I just don't think it fits well on the album. Half a point to Needle and Tonight's the Night. That would be 1 point. That's 11 points. 11 out of 14 is 79%. That's an almost like 4 out of 5. That's a 4 out of 5, 80%. I mean, that's if you're shooting 80%, that's fantastic. If you're hitting 80%, you're breaking all the records in baseball. But yeah, so it is my favorite covers album I've done so far. If I had to rank them all, that is where this is. It is number one. That Ann Wilson album, telling you, that one is really, really good. I highly recommend checking that out. Those are the only two above 70% at this point. But that Ann Wilson is worth checking out. And if you're a Neil Young fan and you haven't heard this, check it out. I think it's brilliant. The Lips sound like the Lips. Pixies sound like the Pixies. Dinosaur sounds like Dinosaur. Sonic sounds like Sonic. Soul Asylum probably sounds like Soul Asylum. They're just doing Neil songs. And they're really good versions. I really, really enjoy this album. It's the exception to the rule. That and Ann Wilson. But anyways, yeah. Those are my thoughts on this. Let me know your thoughts on this. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things. And yeah, go listen to this album if you haven't. It's brilliant. All right. Peace. Talk to you later.